Welcome back to Discovery Lab Online. I'm Erica, and today we're going to talk about a holiday that most of you probably celebrate, but you might not really know why, and that's Memorial Day. Loads of different countries have some version of Memorial Day to honor soldiers. In South Korea, they celebrate Memorial Day on June 6th. Italy celebrates National Unity and Armed Forces Day on November 4th. And France, Canada, Britain, Belgium, and others all celebrate Armistice Day on November 11th. Here in the US, we celebrate Armistice Day as Veterans Day to recognize those Americans who fought in any armed conflict. Memorial Day, on the other hand, is specifically for those whose service cost them their lives, and it actually began 50 years earlier. Originally, Memorial Day was referred to by a different name, Decoration Day, and it began shortly after the end of the Civil War. At the end of the Civil War, the nation was in total shambles. Historians estimate that between 600,000 and 800,000 American soldiers died during the Civil War, both from combat and disease. If that seems like a big number, it's because it is. In total, 1.2 million Americans have died in all of the nation's conflicts combined, meaning that about half of all of those deaths were just from the Civil War. Because of the tremendously high death toll, Americans faced an immediate challenge at the end of the war. They needed to find a way to come to terms with the toll of the war and also memorialize all of those deaths. So widows and other loved ones of fallen soldiers would bring flowers to graves or make makeshift monuments in order to honor those who died in the war, which would begin the first Decoration Day rituals. It started out as scattered celebrations in small towns during and after the war, and dozens of different cities all claimed to be the home of the first official Memorial Day. But it took until 1868 for the holiday to become widely observed. General John A. Logan is credited with creating the first official Decoration Day when he declared that May 30th, 1868 would be a day that was, and I quote, designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion. As you can imagine, these first Decoration Day celebrations took on a decidedly different tone depending on which side of the war you were on. For African Americans in the North and the South and their Northern abolitionist allies, Memorial Day wasn't just about mourning the loss of those who died, but it was also a celebration of victory and freedom. For Memorial Days founded by former Confederates, the tone of the celebrations were much more mournful. It was a collective expression of their grief at their defeat, and there were several distinct Confederate Memorial Days that sprang up independently of one another. Although these Northern and Southern Memorial Day celebrations were originally celebrated separately with very different meanings, that started to change a few years later. During the 1870s, Northerners and Southerners slowly started to participate together in some Memorial Day rituals as a way to encourage the reunification of the North and the South. And by the first couple decades of the 20th century, these combined celebrations had become even more common. It showed that Northerners and Southerners could come together despite their history and commemorate their fallen soldiers together. But this also had some pretty interesting byproducts. Some historians argue that by making Memorial Day more about the reunification of the North and the South, it had the side effect of underplaying the celebration of freedom for African Americans. But that wasn't the only time Memorial Day changed meanings. After World War I, the holiday became a day to observe all of those who died in all of America's wars, not just the Civil War. After World War II, the name Memorial Day became more common than the name Decoration Day, and in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which established that Memorial Day was to be celebrated on the last Monday of May rather than May 30th. Memorial Day has been celebrated in many different ways over the years. Today, most people in the US celebrate by having picnics, pool parties, or backyard barbecues. But this year, maybe you can impress your family by sharing a few new Memorial Day facts with them. How does your family usually celebrate Memorial Day? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy our content, please let us know by liking and subscribing. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, send them to questions@fwmsh.org or leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.